Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Damodara, Kartik Vrata, written by Bhakti Purusottama Swami. Let us continue reading. We were reading about the Damodara Leela, and Krishna is giving a run around to Mother Yashoda and is not coming under her control, and Mother Yashoda is trying to bind Krishna. And let us see what is going to unfold now. The Lord is also the world, because the world has manifested from his energy, and because the energy and the energetic are non-different, we can conclude that the Lord is the world. If the Lord is the world, then the world cannot bind the Lord. If the world cannot bind the Lord, then how can a rope, which is an insignificant part of the world, bind the Lord? We cannot dismiss Krishna as just a small boy and question his all-pervasiveness, as he had already proven this by displaying the entire cosmic manifestation in his mouth. We must therefore conclude that it is impossible to bind Krishna. If so, then how did Mother Yashoda achieve this incomprehensible task? She bound him by the power of her unparalleled parental love. Among the unlimited qualities of Lord Sri Krishna, he has a quality known as Prem Vashyata, which means he is controlled by love. Because of this quality of the Lord, it was possible for Yashoda to bind him by a rope of love. Because Sri Krishna was so mischievous, he deserved the punishment his mother had devised for him. She had a duty to train her son properly and could not neglect this. As Mother Yashoda was binding Krishna, something very interesting happened. She was about to tie the knot when she discovered that the rope was short by 2 fingers. She added more rope, but again it was 2 fingers short. She made several more attempts, but whatever quantity of rope she added, she was surprisingly 2 fingers short at every attempt to tie the knot. Yashoda thought, my child, due to his uncommon naughtiness, has become very restless and is not allowing me to bind him. This reflects the very sweet mood of the parental love of Mother Yashoda. Of the Lord's many potencies, one is Vibhuta. Vibhu means big, and his potency appeared in the waist of the Lord, increasing it in a way that was invisible to Mother Yashoda. We have seen that the love of Mother Yashoda was one of the main factors for her being able to bind the Lord. But is this love all that is needed? Actually, the love of Mother Yashoda had to be combined with the sanction or acceptance of the Lord. The reason the rope was 2 fingers short every time indicates the 2 essential components needed to bind or capture Krishna: eagerness for Krishna and mercy of Krishna. So we have been given this mantra that we have to have the eagerness for Krishna, and we also need the mercy of Krishna. Then only Krishna is bound with our love. When Krishna saw the labor of Mother Yashoda, he felt compassion or mercy, and thus he accepted the binding. When Mother Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna, he began to shout, begging help for Mother Rohini. Krishna said, "O Mother Rohini, O Brother Balram, please help me. My mother is binding me." But they were not there, as they had gone to the house of Upananda to attend a program. If Mother Rohini had been there, the situation may not have escalated to such a degree where Mother Yashoda had to bind Krishna. Mother Rohini would most likely have intervened to normalize the situation. Due to Krishna's wailing and pleas for help, the neighborhood ladies came to Nanda Baba's house to see the reason for all the commotion. They were surprised to see Mother Yashoda punishing her darling son by trying to bind him with a rope. The gopis thought, today Kanha must have done something very mischievous in this house. He usually comes out to our houses to steal butter. When we come to complain, Yashoda refuses to accept that Krishna would steal butter from other houses. But today Krishna has done something naughty at his house, causing his mother great anger. The gopis pleaded on behalf of Krishna, "O Yashoda, please release this boy. Consider him punished already. What great offense has he committed for which you are trying to bind him?" This is very common behavior for children. But Mother Yashoda did not care for their words. She became more determined to bind Krishna. Seeing Yashoda, the gopis began to laugh, saying, "Oh, just see, you can never bind him. There must be a secret to binding this boy. It appears that destiny is protecting him." Mother Yashoda initially tried to bind Krishna with the rope she was using to churn butter, and then tried to bind Krishna with the rope and then eventually used every rope in her house. The neighborhood ladies jokingly brought more ropes from their houses and said, "Take all these ropes to bind your son. Let us see how you bind him." Hearing the gopis, Mother Yashoda became even more determined and said, "What are you talking about? Do you think I cannot bind this small boy? I will try all day and use all the ropes in my house to see how big his belly is." Mother Yashoda was also laughing along with the gopis, who were all very surprised to witness this miraculous event. Mother Yashoda said, "He was born at the wrong time, thus he does not know good from bad. But I think you have been put under a spell, since internally you are prejudiced against him, but externally you show yourself differently." The neighboring ladies laughed and said, "Falling at your feet, we swear that we are not under some amazing spell." Mother Yashoda then began to think, according to Garga's words, the Lord's powers are covering this boy and he does not know what is happening. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has described the reason why the rope became shorter. He states, when Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna, it was during the morning. Usually at that time, he would go to play with his friends. By that time, all his friends had come and were looking through their windows and calling Krishna to play with them. Krishna wanted to go out and play with his friends, and his Leela Shakti acted according to his desire. When his Leela Shakti saw that Krishna wanted to go out and play, but that his mother was trying to bind him, thus stopping him, the Leela Shakti thought, "Who can bind my Lord?" Thus his Vibhuti Shakti was sent by his Satya Sankalpa Shakti to appear in the waist of Krishna. As a result, whatever amount of rope was used, it was always short. So the Leela Shakti of the Lord thought that Lord cannot be bound. And his Vibhuta Shakti, the expansion Shakti, was sent by his Satya Sankalpa Shakti to appear in the waist of Krishna. So that's why Krishna's waist was getting bigger. Mother Yashoda thought, "Alas, the size of my son's waist is only as big as my palm, but I have used rope as long as 100 hands, and still it is not sufficient to bind this boy. Surprisingly though, I do not see his belly growing in size." The second surprising thing is that every time I'm about to knot the rope, it is exactly 2 fingers short, not 3, not 4. The neighborhood ladies said, "Alas, after using all the ropes in your house, the small waist of this boy still could not be bound. This indicates his good fortune. Destiny has dictated that he will not be bound. O Yashoda, you better refrain from this endeavor." So these gopis have this experience that Krishna gets away with everything. So they are advising Mother Yashoda that give up the effort of binding Krishna. Hearing from the ladies, Mother Yashoda became more obstinate and thought, "Today I will try to bind this boy, even if it takes until evening and I have to use all the ropes in this village. But I will see the end of this boy's belly. I have to know the size of his waist." In this mood, Mother Yashoda, the greatest well-wisher of her son, would not give up effort to bind Krishna, setting the scene for a transcendental contest between God and his devotee. Finally, Lord Krishna, upon seeing the labor of his mother, gave up his impudence, or which we call hut in Hindi and Sanskrit. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the most attractive and completely independent Krishna, who is the controller of all controllers, showed his great quality of Bhritya Vashyata, becoming subordinate to his Bhritya or servant. He is controlled by his devotees. He who controls all controllers is controlled by his devotee. One may ask, can Krishna really be bound in this way? Shukadev Goswami says yes, because of his merciful nature. Krishna can actually be tied and bound by his devotee. Kripyashit Swabandhane, Krishna's merciful nature, Kripa Shakti, prevailed and subdued all of his other Shaktis. His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj describes a very nice exchange between Balram and Yashoda, as well as Balram and Krishna. And as we all know, Radha Govind Maharaj is the Guru Maharaj of His Grace Amrendra Prabhuji and many other disciples who all are very apt at giving sweet katha. After binding Krishna to a grinding mode, now this is the description by His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj, describing the nice exchange between Balram and Yashoda, also exchange between Balram and Krishna. After binding Krishna to a grinding mortar, Mother Yashoda sternly told Krishna, "Stay here. If you dare to move, I'll beat you." She asked the other gopis to keep an eye on him. Until this point, Balram was not there, so someone informed Balram that his brother was tied up. Upon arriving, Balram assumed his Sankarshan mood and strongly declared, "Who dares to bind Krishna? I am Sankarshan, I am Sheshnag. As Sankarshan, I can burn the entire universe with one breath. As Sheshnag, I can inundate the entire Vraja with the poison coming from my 1,000 hoods. Does this wrongdoer not know what I can do? Who has done this? Who tied Krishna?" Someone told Balram that it was Mother Yashoda who had bound Krishna. Upon hearing this, Balram's mood changed. He was no longer like a fiery snake. He became like a timid mouse. Balram's anger waned and he did not know what to do. Balram saw that Krishna was crying, and Krishna, seeing Balram, cried even more to invoke his mercy. Seeing Krishna crying, Balram became angry again and shouted, "Who has tied Krishna? He is Narayan. He is Narsimha. He is Vaman. He is Matsya. Krishna is the origin of all the avatars." As we all know, Krishna is the avatari. From him, all the avatars emanate. He is everything. Who is the guilty one? I have 1,000 hoods. I will burn this Vraja to the ground with the flames from my 1,000 hoods. Looking at Balram, Mother Yashoda sarcastically said, "Oh, I see. Krishna is the origin of all incarnations. If that is so, who then are you?" Balram replied, "I am Lakshman, I am Sheshnag, I am Sankarshan. I can do this. I can do that." Mother Yashoda then said, "Do all these incarnations have to appear only in my home?" She picked up her stick and waved it threateningly at Balram. She warned, "You had better get out of here before I beat and bind you as well." Hearing this, Balram ran away. All his Sankarshan power was no longer present. Mother Yashoda said, "Krishna is Bhagwan. Indeed, he hears a cat meow and runs to me." Bhagwan Narsimha is like this. If Krishna is Bhagwan, then why does he need to steal makhan? Balram ran from Mother Yashoda and went to Krishna, saying, "I told you so many times to give up this makhan stealing. Did you listen to me? You ignored my advice and now you're suffering. What can I do? If someone else had tied you, I would have taken care of it. But when Ma ties you, what can I do? I'm helpless. What can I do to stop her? I heard that you broke the yogurt pot. Why did you do that? Even if you had broken the pot, why did you not just stop at that? Instead, you had to continue your mischief and make her more angry. My dear brother Krishna, I'm sorry, there is nothing I can do." Krishna heard this and began to cry even more. Balram continued, "I told you so many times to give up this stealing habit, but you would not listen. This serves you right. Today you are getting punished. All you can do is cry. Who can release you?" Balram pleaded with Mother Yashoda, "Please untie him, please untie him." Then he said, "When I will untie him, I will go and untie him." Balram was hoping that Mother Yashoda would relent and tell him to untie Krishna, but Mother Yashoda did not relent. In the end, Balram went back to Krishna and they both cried. Krishna cried because he was tied up and Balram cried because he was helpless. Mother Yashoda, after binding Krishna, had left to perform her daily duties. While the mother was engaged in her household activities, Sri Krishna, while still bound, cast his merciful glance towards the two Arjun trees. Mother Yashoda left Krishna, but she did not go too far away. She also engaged a few boys to guard Krishna, and she knew very well that her boy did not have enough strength to pull the grinding mortar. Thus she had no fear that her son would wander off and get up to some mischief. Mother Yashoda said, "You restless boy, if you can, then let me see you release yourself from this binding." Gopala Champu describes this. Having tied him up and showing harshness to him to teach him, Mother Yashoda went to do her household chores with the other women who were laughing. She placed other boys around her child to protect him. When the neighborhood women left, Krishna pretended to cry for a while. Then he became joyful at the prospect of moving the mortar to many places. Although he was tied up with great faith, increased by being surrounded by the boys, he played with them while smiling and moved the mortar bit by bit while they also laughed. He then had them go to the empty houses of the women and steal the butter hanging in the pots. But he did not desire to free himself from the mortar using his hands or any instruments in order to give joy by pulling the mortar. Here it should be noted, while Krishna was bound, he still had the power to deliver the 2 trees. Thus, even if the Lord has been bound by his devotee, he still retains his power to deliver others. When Mother Yashoda left Krishna after binding him with the rope to the grinding mortar, Sri Krishna could have asked the other boys to untie the rope and release him, but he did not ask for that because he enjoyed being bound by his mother. He enjoyed that his mother had bound him with the rope of her love. Srila Jiva Goswami has said Krishna had seen these trees since his birth, but on this particular day he had a very merciful glance. Why did he not have this merciful glance before? Because on this day Krishna was in bondage. He realized the pain of bondage, which reminded him that Nal Kuber and Manigriv, the 2 sons of Kuber, had been standing there in the form of the Arjun trees for so many years. Empathizing with the suffering of the sons of Kuber due to his own bondage, the Lord felt mercy. Krishna thought, "I have been bound by my mother due to some debt that I must repay. I decided to repay the debt by delivering the sons of Kuber." Desiring to pull down the 2 trees, Krishna started pulling hard. He uprooted both the Arjun trees, creating terrible sound. All the inhabitants of Vraja, other than the deaf, could not maintain their composure on hearing that sound. What was most astonishing, however, was that Krishna had broken the 2 trees, which were hard as thunderbolts, but he did not break the bondage of affection he had with his mother. Yashoda did not relent. In the end, Balram went back to Krishna and they both cried. Sorry, I think we have read this. Let me turn the page. Yeah. How have these trees fallen without wind, without rain, without thunderbolts, without an attack by elephants? How is it possible for someone to uproot? So all the Vrajavasis, they came and when they heard the falling of the trees, and for one Muhurat, it is described here that they all fainted as well. But the only ones who didn't faint were Krishna and the boys around Krishna. Now, experiencing the height of sweetness of his pastime, they did not become frightened and remained immobile like painted pictures. Hearing the sound from far off, the villagers speculated on its origin and went toward the place. Arriving all at the same time, full of anxiety, they conversed with each other. How have these trees fallen without wind, without rain, without thunderbolts, without an attack by elephants? How is it possible for someone to uproot the trees when there is no one here? For that reason, everyone fainted on hearing that sound. They noticed that Krishna was near the trees and that he was smiling. Pulling the mortar, he was experiencing bliss in his actions. They surrounded him, saying, "How did this happen?" Seeing his father coming from behind, Krishna began crying. His frightened father smiled in order to comfort the child and untied him. Kissing the child's face, he repeatedly asked what happened, although he knew the cause of his being tied up. Where is the rascal who has tied you to the mortar attached to his father? He approached him after some time and whispered in his ear, "Oh father, mother did this." So Krishna is telling Nanda Maharaj that Mother Yashoda has bound him. Yashoda, after recovering from fainting and repenting what she had done, had told Nanda everything. Thus he already knew, but he did not want to say anything suddenly to Krishna while alone with him. Not with disrespect, but out of ignorance of the details, he asked the other boys, "How did this happen?" The boy spoke. Krishna went between the two trees in order to go to a wider space for playing and pulled the immovable mortar by its base in a crooked manner. He produced the cracking sound in the trees and then suddenly made them fall to the ground. Then two people like fire, decorated with bracelets, crowns and earrings, emerged from the broken trees and offered respects in all directions. They then praised Krishna. The two then departed for the north. Hearing this, all the people with parental feelings, including Nanda, dismissed it as children's talk. Others, however, could not remove the doubt in their hearts. Gradually, one by one, others came and joined Nanda. Holding Krishna on his chest, he went to the Yamuna river to perform his daily rites. Taking a bath with his son, he had Brahmins chanting auspicious prayers, and after dismissing them with great gifts, returned to his house to take his morning meal. Being unhappy because of separation from Krishna and ashamed of having tied him up, Yashoda did not come out of the house and did not talk to other women in the house. When the other women left, Rohini, who solves all problems, surrounded her along with the respectable kitchen assistants. Nanda brought Krishna and Balram and ate his meal with them. While engaging in affectionate talk, soft talk, he relaxed with the two who were the supreme bliss incarnate. For 2 muhurats, his heart was satisfied as if lying on a soft bed. He went to the cowshed at the time when the cows returned and supervised their milking. Bringing white sugar from the house, he had the 2 boys along with their friends drink most beneficial milk fresh from the cows as a substitute for breast milk. He taught them how to write some letters. Later, entering the house, he met with others to have his evening meal. Desiring unbroken happiness for his son, the head women, including Rohini, the jewels of the families, came and made a request. "O King, Yashoda has not eaten all day and she does not speak to anyone." Seeing this, all others have also followed her example. Nanda spoke with sadness and a smile. "What can we do? After showing anger, one should regret one's fault." They said with tears in their eyes, "Ah, she is very soft internally and externally. She will be devastated by your words." Slightly smiling, Nanda Maharaj then asked his son, "Will you go to your mother?" Krishna said, No, I will spend my time with you. I will not go to mother. I will stay with my father." The wives of Nanda Maharaj's elder brother said, "Whose milk will you drink? If you do not go to your mother, then who will feed you milk?" Krishna said, "I will drink fresh milk from the cows mixed with sugar." The lady said, "Who will you play with?" Krishna said, "I will play with my father. I will bring my brother also." Nanda Maharaj said, "Will you not go to your brother's mother?" Angrily, Krishna said with tears in his eyes, "She left me and went away." Hearing this, Rohini, with tears in her eyes, said softly, "O son, you are so harsh. Your mother is suffering." Not listening to her words, Krishna, with tearful eyes, glanced at his father's face to attract Krishna. Rohini gave a signal to Balram. Balram went to Krishna and held his hand. Krishna rejected his hand and went to the lap of his father and held his arms around his neck. Looking at Nanda's tear-filled eyes and bringing Nanda under his control, seeing Krishna's internal affection for his mother, Nanda raised his hand as if to beat Yashoda. In order to reveal Krishna's affection for her, "O son, if you agree, I will beat her." Krishna could not tolerate this and blocked Nanda's hand. Smiling again, Nanda again showed great compassion because of his parental affection, and understanding the heart of Krishna's mother, he said, "O son, if your mother is in this condition, what will you do?" He spoke while smiling, indicating she would die. Because of this childlike nature, Krishna immediately became anxious for his mother. With tears in his eyes, he said, "Where is mother? I must go." In anxiety, he went to Rohini's lap. While all were noisily laughing, Rohini, who bestows the greatest happiness, took him and entered the house. He hugged his mother's neck while crying in joy. Yashoda kissed the child's head and made sounds like a cow. With melted heart, she sobbed, making all others sob. Yashoda pacified the women with the comforting words, and slight glow appeared on her face. She appeared healthy, with beautiful face, and satisfied her child with breast milk. With the other helpful women, she fed Krishna and Balaram. For 3 days after the incident being reserved, Yashoda did not show herself to Nanda, but on another day, Krishna brought her to his father on his order, holding the edge of her cloth. From the day when he was bound, the women of Raja called the beautiful dark child Damodar in a joking way. What poet amongst all people in this world can describe Krishna, whom Shukadev has described as much superior to Brahma, Shiva and Lakshmi? The drum roll of her fame denounced the Shukadev Goswami wanders through the 3 worlds with great renown. Neither Lord Brahma nor Shiva nor even goddesses of fortune, who are always the better half of the Supreme Lord, can obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The deliverer from this material world such mercy as received by Mother Yashoda. So neither Lord Brahma nor Shiva nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always the Supreme Lord's better half, can obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the deliverer from this material world, such mercy as Mother Yashoda she received. So this was from Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 9th chapter and the 20th verse. Yashoda, Jai Mother Yashoda, Yashoda Maiya ki Jai. And next time we will read How Can Krishna Be God. So thank you all for joining, and as you can see in the stills, it is the devotees offering lamp to the lordships, Yashoda Damodar, Radha Shyam Sundar, Gauranitai and Krishna Balram at the Krishna Balram temple. So I hope you're also offering your lamps to the deities and enjoying and getting a lot of bliss from this month. Hari Om Tat Sat, Hare Krishna.